everyone, and welcome back to another aquatic adventure. I'm Erin here with Wave Foundation, and I am actually sitting along the banks of the Ohio River again because today we are going to talk about and actually build our own watershed. And so I figured let's be out in our watershed today. So what is a watershed? That's the basics. Let's start there. It may sound like it's your utility closet or where the water of our city is controlled. That's not exactly what we mean when we talk about a watershed in nature. So a watershed is actually the entire land mass where rain is going to wash into the same water basin. So here, the hill that I'm sitting on, if it were to rain right now, which it kind of looks like it might, the water is going to wash into the Ohio River. So I am currently sitting in the Ohio River watershed, or a part of the Ohio River watershed. This also includes any of the streams or tributaries, other small rivers that lead into the Ohio River. So farther down this direction, towards Covington, is the Licking River. The Licking River also has its own watershed that is within the Ohio River watershed, because the Licking River washes into the Ohio River. So any landmass, any area where the water drains to the same location is a part of a watershed. So we're gonna make that on a smaller scale today so that we can see exactly how this happens. So we are following along with a STEM card from the Greater Cincinnati STEM Collaborative that we have created with them, and we are building a watershed. So the materials that you guys need, I have a tray. We are gonna be spraying some water. So if you were doing this out on your grass, you may not need a tray, but I would not suggest just doing this on the kitchen table. You are gonna use food coloring, and so you wanna have something that will catch that water that won't make a mess. So I have a little bit of a tray here. You need some aluminum foil. I have already ripped off my piece. You may hear it crinkling in the background because it is rather windy. So you need aluminum foil, food coloring of some kind, and a spray bottle or something to even pour water. If you don't have a spray bottle that spritzes, you can just use a glass and pour the water. If you have large rocks, those are great to help make your landscape, but you do not need them. You can just crinkle up your aluminum foil and make that. I just happened to have passed some rocks on my way here, so I grabbed them. So the first thing we're gonna do is make our landscape, right? The land around me is not perfectly flat. I forgot that I had put rocks on my paper so they won't fly away. So the land is not perfectly flat like my tray. So I need to build up my landscape here. So even around me, you can see this has a kind of a hill up here. I'm actually sitting on a hill. So we need to create some of that landscape here on our tray. So I got myself a big rock, and I'm gonna use that as a mountain. And that's gonna be the peak of my watershed. And then I have some smaller, more flat rocks that I'm gonna just kind of lay around to make more landscape. It can be however you want. You can put them anywhere. I am not gonna move my last rock because that's holding my paper down. So I'm gonna leave my watershed just like this. Now, if you were using your aluminum foil, like I said, you would just crinkle it up and make, you know, a mountain and then put one piece over that whole thing. But I'm just gonna use one piece of aluminum foil. And now that we have made our landscape, we're gonna cover it in aluminum foil because we don't just have big rocks sitting around. They are covered in soil and grass and trees. And so I am gonna form my landmass around the rocks and such and mountains that I just made. So we try and form it as close as possible. I'll show you here what I'm doing. So I did kind of form it in here because I'm gonna have a lower part here between my rocks. So I wanted to make it do that. And then I'm gonna flatten out my valley here. Find where I set that, there we go. Okay, so I have my mountain up here. I've got maybe a little hill here, and I have got my valley that falls down. If it breaks through on your rocks, that's fine, doesn't matter. So, perfect, here's my landmass. Hopefully that doesn't blow away. Put some markers on it, because I have them. Okay, so this is our landmass. So now we need to think about rain. Now if I just spray plain water on here, it's gonna be really hard to see. So this is where the food coloring comes in, because what we're gonna do is we're gonna follow the water. Water is incredibly lazy. It's not gonna travel against gravity up most of the time. And so it's just gonna flow down and flow with gravity, but that's very hard to see when it's clear. So we're gonna put food coloring at the highest points on our landscape. So I'm simply going to put a few drops right here at the very top of my mountain. I'm gonna put one drop at the top of my hill. And I'm gonna put one drop over here. It's not quite as high, but it is kind of another peak. So I'm gonna put another drop here. You only want that food coloring right now at the tops of your landscape, the highest points. And so that way you will be able to watch where the water flows when it rains. And hopefully we'll be able to see what kinds of land or waterscapes are created. So that's the question that I'm gonna ask for you guys. First off, before you continue to the next step, think about, as I spray this, what waterscapes is this going to create? What am I looking for? So we are looking out at the Ohio River. What am I gonna look for on my landscape to see where would the rivers form? Where would the lakes form? Do I already have an idea of where a lake is gonna be? On mine, I definitely do. I know exactly where my lake is gonna be. And I probably have a good idea of where a river is gonna be even. So I'm gonna give you guys a chance to think about that also. And I'm gonna point out to you where mine would be. So right here in my low point between all my rocks, that is for sure gonna be my lake. And I'm guessing I'm gonna have a river form kind of along this edge, and then probably along this edge here. But I'm guessing this is gonna be kind of like a waterfall even, where all the water just drains over there. But I know for sure a river is gonna form right here in this cavern and land in my lake. And then this would kind of be like maybe the ocean or something like that, where I have that bigger flat surface. So I want you guys to make your predictions before you spray your water, and I'm gonna spray mine and see what happens. Yeah. Okay, so I started gently here, and you can see as I spray, it may not show up on the video quite as well. As I spray, I wasn't quite right about where my river is forming. My river is actually forming on the back side of my mountain over here. It's going all the way down that way. This is why we have the tray, so we don't get food coloring everywhere. This one actually isn't really forming any rivers right now. It is actually forming its own little lakes. And then down here at the basin, I do, of course, have my river forming here in the middle and all the way down to my lake, which is forming down here. It's nice and light blue. So continue to build your watershed, see where the water goes, and see if what kinds of features you can build, and see if you can actually decide, I want a river in this location, and how would you need to set up your landscape in order to have your watershed flow in that way. Maybe also head outside, find the watershed that you are connected to, and see where the water when it rains flows from your backyard. Enjoy the day, everyone.